There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello, BookTube. I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with a tag. This is a brand new tag created, or weaponized, by Steve Donahue. I just watched his video the other day, maybe yesterday. It's called the What Lurks on My Kindle tag. That piqued my interest because there's a lot lurking on my Kindle and I'm not even all that sure anymore what's there. This grew out of a booktuber who I'm not familiar with, Criminali. And he has a satanic 100 book challenge, which, if Steve explained it correctly, is that you must read 100 books you own before you're allowed to buy even one book. Well, that challenge does not interest me in the slightest. But another booktuber who I'm also not familiar with, I got a lot of booktubing to do to find out about all this new blood. Michael K. Vaughan, and he talked as one way of approaching this 100 satanic 100 book challenge was to read what's lurking on his Kindle. So I will put a link to that video, and then Steve, as is his wont, has weaponized it into a tag. So yeah, I'm going to talk about things that are on my Kindle. I'm not going to talk about things I've read. I'm not going to talk about things I've bailed on. I'm not going to talk about books that I'm too embarrassed to tell you about, unless the wine starts talking. But I'm just going to tell you about stuff that is kind of surprising to me that it's there, and will I ever get around to reading it? And I don't know how many I'm going to do. Once I think that I've talked enough, I will shut her down, and if the comments, if you leave me comments that beg me to do more of these, I will be happy to, but let's get started. I have Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter here, and I did start this, but not recently, not since any of you have known me. Like decades ago, I read the first couple pages and found it quite stiff, formal prose, and not something that I wanted to read for pleasure. But for some reason, I have the ebook on my Kindle. I don't imagine that I paid for it. I believe it's, like most classic novels, it was a free download. And similarly, I have Anthony Trollope's The Warden, which I believe is it not volume 1 of one of his famous series? Yes, it's the first in the Chronicles of Barsetshire series, and everybody seems to absolutely love that novel, and I enjoy a Trollope every now and again. My favorite is Can You Forgive Her? And I also loved the very first Trollope I read as an undergrad in university as an English major, and that was called, oh dear, I do want to reread it because I really enjoyed it, and I can now see it's not his best, but it's very, very enjoyable, and I think I've heard Donahue talk recently about how much he liked it too. Is He Popenjoy, 1878, yeah. And I've read The Way We Live Now, and maybe that's, oh, I read the famous Barsetshire. Barchester Towers I read. I didn't really care for it. It was quite a bit too churchy for me. But The Warden, 1855, everybody says. So if I love The Warden, if I try it again, I promise to keep going and give Barchester Towers another try. I have a biography, and this will be the only British royal family related book that I will talk about, just because I don't want to clog this with books about the British royal family that only 3.5% of you are interested in. But I have a biography of Prince Eddy. Now that was the Duke of Clarence. That was Bertie, i.e. he later became Edward VII. That was his oldest son, who was an heir who died of, I believe, syphilis. Well, that might just be a rumor, but he died very young. There's been some rumors that he was Jack the Ripper, which I think have been debunked, but he was at least bisexual. And he was engaged to be married to Princess May, who later became Queen Mary, because when he died, she very promptly got engaged to the next oldest son in the royal line, George, who became George V, and she became Queen Mary. And I am obsessed with Queen Mary. And the Prince Edward death scene, as written in various biographies, is absolutely fascinating. But enough about the royal family for this video. I think I need to start a separate channel. All 5 of you who are interested can follow me there. I have an American novel that was published 7 or 8 years ago, And Sons by David Gilbert. and I have never read it, but I heard at the time it was good. What do people say about it now? Well, according to Goodreads, it's got a 3.4 rating. It's David Gilbert's second novel, a sprawling family saga. Well, that sounds good so far, and I remembered that. I believe it's set back in history, but I'm not going to go into the weeds about it. It's got quite a low rating. I don't see any booktubers who have read it. Thomas, formerly of the Readers, gave it 4 stars. We often have similar taste. But here's a representative 3-star review. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but David Gilbert's Ambitious and Sons is one hot mess. It's one of those books that will as easily garner 5 stars as 1. There's much to like, and it goes from there. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to give it a try. Have any of you out there read it? I have a memoir that when I first came out, I bought the ebook because I thought, oh, it sounds really good. And I think it still does. It's called The Cross in the Closet by Timothy Kurek. And this man was raised a strict conservative Christian in the Bible Belt, Nashville, taught the gospel of separation. I'm not sure what the gospel of separation is. A close friend of his came out as a lesbian and was disowned by her family, and he was really messed up about that and decided, kind of like Black Like Me, it's a little bit, now looking back on it, this was published in 2012, so that's how long I've had it on my Kindle. He pretends to be as a gay man, so he decides to come out as a gay man to everyone in his life and to see for himself how that label would impact his life. I bet I might hate it, but I think it's still worth giving a try. It has a 3.95 rating. Have anybody I know read it? Nope. Alright, interesting. I had totally forgotten it was there. I have Laura Hillenbrand's biography, I think it's a biography, Unbroken, Survival, Resilience, Redemption. It's made into a movie. I'm actually more interested in the author, Lauren Hillenbrand's personal story, which there was a big article written about her, a profile in the New York Times, which Kendra Winchester brought to my attention because it really mirrors Kendra's own journey with her health challenges. But I don't actually think I'm going to probably ever read this. It's about some World War II something, and the farther I get away from whatever sparked my interest to get it, I don't think I'll get to it. I have the first work of kind of translit that I've ever bought, and I've never read it. It's called The Burnt Toast B&B, and it's co-authored by Heidi Belleau and Rachel Haimowitz. And I bought it years and years ago, and it was because I think the story did sound interesting, but I had never read anything about trans people's lives or experience in my life, or very little. I never did get to it. Let's see. Okay, I see it's part of a series, the Blue Water Bay series, number 5, but we'll ignore that. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a Sean book now that I look at it's a romance. If I could gift Cousin of Always Doing this book, I would be happy to do that. This was published in 2015. It's interesting that the synopsis is very coy, but I know that one of these two quote-unquote men emerges in the story as being a trans man, okay? But an actor, a stuntman, breaks his arm so he can't work. And he finds himself, he doesn't know what to do with himself. So he finds lodgings, really cheap lodgings at this bread and breakfast that's really cheap, and it's a terrible place. And he gets to know the owner, Derek, who is a really macho logger who inherited this bed and breakfast after his parents' untimely deaths, and plot ensues and romance ensues, and I know for sure that one of them comes out to the other as trans, and it's a romance story. So, yeah, I should probably try it just for fun, or, I've read some really quality literary trans fiction, especially The Transition Baby. And this one has been lurking on my Kindle for years. I have a book here with here's the cover, very phallic cover. It's called Exposure. A Sociologist Explores Sex, Society, and Adult Entertainment by Dr. Chauntelle Tibbals. I'm sure that I will never read it, but I still like the fact that I own it, and that I get to flash the picture on the screen for you. No idea why I bought it. I assume it was because it was like $2 or something. I have become such an Edna O'Brien groupie in the last year, and I have a novel, one of her more recent novels, sitting here in my Kindle, The Little Red Chairs, and it was just published not so long ago when she was in her mid to late 80s, 2015. So she's now 90. I think she'll be 91 on her next birthday. So this would have been in her mid-80s. It's historical fiction to do with a war criminal from Eastern Europe who settles in a small Irish village. I think I love her writing so much, but I've never been very interested in any of her fiction set outside Ireland because she is so Irish. I'm like that. I don't want to read anything. In fact, the very first short story I read of hers I didn't like because it wasn't set in Ireland. So yeah, I have not been so interested in a lot of her more recent stuff because it's not set in Ireland. The fact that this is set in Ireland, I'm going to try it. But I will probably read her stuff in sequence for a few years before I get to it. This was definitely, I think, a purchase that was like $1 or something on Kindle. It is called Duck by Stephen Parolini, published in 2014. Maybe I heard about it on a podcast and then saw how cheap it was and bought it, but I have no memory of why I bought it. It's a novelette. Is that different from a novella? I'm not sure. I guess there was a real elementary school student in the UK called Thomas Lingonberry, because there was an air raid drill in 1957, and he is the only one that followed the rules and climbed under his desk, curled into a ball. Everybody else just kind of ignores the alarm because they just think it's a fire drill, but in fact, there was a Martin B-26 Marauder carrying 2 improperly attached bombs flying overhead. And this is a novelette which imagines the pivotal moments in his life leading up to this day. A coming-of-age story about those things that are out of our control, like bombs, bullies, and love. Well, I think I better try it now that I remember that it's there and refresh my memory about what it is about. I appear not to have any friends who've read it, but a handful who have it on their TBR. It has a 3.86 rating, so yep, worth a try. I have Alexander Chee's novel about the opera singer, the Queen of the Night, and I heard good things about it when it came out. And then Thomas, formerly of the Readers, on his blog Hogglestock, I'm going to put a link to his review, wrote such a devastating review that convinced me that I didn't need to bother trying it because the writing was so shitty that I've never tried it. Now, Thomas is a opera aficionado, as anybody who knows Thomas knows that. So he had a lot of problems with that, which I wouldn't probably care about, but he also sampled some really awful sentences. So, goodness, I have one of those free downloads. Ecstasy, A Study of Happiness, a novel by Louis Couperus. I have no idea why I do. Let's find out what this is. Looks like it's translated by Teixeira, de Mattos, and John Gray. 3.3 star rating. It's a Dutch novel. Fin de siècle. He was compared to Oscar Wilde in his day. 1 4-star review, nobody that I know has read it, called it a slow-paced novella of reflection, exploring melancholy, happiness, and ecstasy in the characters of the beautiful widowed mother of 2 children, a precocious young pianist, her nephew, and the roguish romantic, Taco Quartz, her admirer. I'm gonna need one of you to sell me on it, otherwise I might just delete it. Although, slow-paced novella of reflection does not turn me off. Miles by Adam Henry Carriere. I have no idea what that is. But it has a shirtless man on the cover. It's a same-sex Bildungsroman about coming of age in 70s Chicago. Oh, it has a 4.05 rating. Oh my goodness. Nominated for the Kindle Book Award. It chronicles the falling of Miles's sexual walls. It's a romance, so I don't know why I have this. Young homosexual love is crystallized in facets of the first water and set in narratives that glimmer like platinum. And then it's described, his sorrows are described as young Wertherian sorrows. I don't think so. Cousin, I wish I could give this to you. I don't know why I have it, but I think it was a cover buy. What do you think? See, I'm far enough into my drink that I don't care about telling you about the embarrassing ones. I have a collection of Octavia Butler stories called Unexpected Stories. I really enjoyed her Kindred. The rest of her stuff sounds way too sci-fi for me, but I was optimistic, and I did buy this ebook, so I will try it at some point. Now here's one that I've had, and this is one of the ones I will get to the first. Ruby by Cynthia Bond. I think I heard about it from Jennifer of Insert Literary Pun here, or maybe I already had it, but I know that it's a book that she has raved about. And not only her. Oh, but it has well, there's 2 entries. Now that is weird. I don't see that very often. I have pulled up 2 Goodreads entries. One that has a 3.65 rating and the other which has a 4.6. So what the hell? It was an Oprah pick, which neither turns me on or turns me off. Set in an East Texas town, and a man is trying to protect the woman he loves from the town desperate to destroy her, which does not sound... Oh, I didn't realize this was Black American fiction. Okay, well that piques my interest tenfold. I did not know that until this very moment. My 2-time guest on Bite Size Book Chats, the Newfoundlander, Lara, has given it 4 stars. Oh, Eric Carl Anderson gave it 5. Lindsay gave it 4. So I think it's been a fairly well-liked book. I don't know that I will get to it anytime soon, but it's one of the ones here that I will get to the soonest. I have Jesse Burton's The Muse here. I don't think I'll ever get to it. Same with Rakesh Sachel's No One Can Pronounce My Name. I think I've done a page 112 test of it. I didn't like the writing. The people that loved it I don't like. Yeah, I think it's just going to languish there. I actually don't know how many novels Neil Griffiths has written, but I'm pretty sure this is his latest novel, As a God Might Be, and it's a tome, because I bought the paper copy, and it's at least 500 pages, and I ended up giving it to my mom. I'll put a link to that page 112 tag thing I did with my mom many years ago for Christmas, and this was one of the ones she liked, so I ended up giving her all 3 of them, and she did read this, and she quite liked it. I have the ebook. He used to be a booktuber, incredibly eloquent. Really enjoyed his channel, and he has not been on YouTube for years. And this book got a 3.74 rating. It has to do with religious people, a proctor, but it doesn't seem like it was a religious novel. Like you could read it in a secular way, so Mom enjoyed it. I think I might enjoy it. 600 pages, yep. Came out in 2017. And if you didn't know, Neil Griffiths is the founder, or one of the founders of the Republic of Consciousness Prize. Yes, I will get to it someday. I have a novel that Simon Savage raved about. I'm pretty sure it was him and not Thomas. By Keith Ridgway, Hawthorne and Child. And that is a gay novel. And also a crime or mystery novel, so I'm not as hepped on it once I realized that it was overlapped into crime and mystery, because that's not my thing, but I'm still interested enough to give it a try. It's got a 3.4 rating, and it's about mid-ranking policemen in London. And it has a lot to do about male violence, obviously, crowd psychology, the borderline between play and abuse, and about the police and so on. But I know that there is a bunch of queer stuff going on. It made the long list of the Green Carnation Prize, and Ridgway has a new novel out this year that also sounds quite interesting. Mark Nash quite liked it. Simon and his mother both gave it 5 stars. Yeah, I will get to it. I think I'm just going to do one more, and then, like I say, I don't want you to feel obligated, but if I get comments that say, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you do more, then I will do more, but otherwise, I don't need to do this in front of you if you're not all that into it. So this is a Canadian novel, I Am a Truck by Michelle Winters. I have talked about it before because I keep putting it onto TBR anytime there's a Canadian prompt or a Canadian readathon or something, and I've never gotten to it. Michelle Winters is the name. Published in 2016. It's a portrayal of Acadian love and loyalty. So that is, well, Acadian could be Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, or PEI, Prince Edward Island, so let's just look her up. She was born in St. John, New Brunswick. She was shortlisted for the Giller for her debut novel in 2017, I Am a Truck. There's a 3.6 rating. It's only 150 pages. 9 of my friends have read it. Laura Fry gave it 4 stars. Jennifer, who has been on my bite-sized book chats, gave it 5. So did Lindy. Yeah, must try it someday. All right, that's enough, and that was fun. So, oh, I should tag some people. I didn't plan ahead, so I'm just going to randomly tag people from my comments section. Fraser Simons. Kim of Middle of the Book March. Larry Has Opinions. Jay Shea. David Murphy. David, I'm doing your tag. You have to do mine. Well, it's not my tag, but... Shelley Swearingen. Roz of Scallydowning About the Books. Cousin of Always Doing. And Lil of Lil's Vintage World. And you. Thanks for watching.